The love handle area is a perfect spot for your body to store and retain fat. This fat sits right above the hips, close to your center of mass, which makes it cost very little energy for your body to maintain, even if you're working out and staying very active. This innately makes most people's love handle fat very stubborn, especially in comparison to other distal areas like your face and hands. So one of the first things that you have to understand is that the fastest way to lose your love handles is to stay consistent over a long enough time frame. It takes time to burn fat, especially from the love handle area, because it's one of the last spots where body fat gets burned due to hormonal and biomechanical aspects. There are certain places in the body where excess body fat actually impairs movement more than others. That's why it's pretty much unheard of for anyone to have stubborn fat around their hands. Our bodies are incredibly smart machines, and after thousands of years of evolution, each of our bodies innately understands that storing fat around the love handles is much more preferable to storing fat around your hands, because that would impact your movement capacity way too much, and from a leverage perspective, it would cost much more energy to maintain fat in distal areas rather than proximal areas. So essentially, your body is only going to start using love handle fat for energy when it's totally out of other options. That's why it's crucial that you stay consistent with eating a healthy diet for at least a certain time period, like 6 weeks to a few months, before moving on to maintenance. In the beginning, you might notice that you're losing a lot of fat rapidly around areas like your face, arms, and legs, but not much from your love handles and belly fat. Many times people don't realize that this is totally normal, and they become discouraged, leading them to quitting and then starting back up again with a bunch of excess fat that they have to now once again burn off to get to those love handles. So the fastest way to lose love handles is to not constantly restart at square one, but rather continue to lose body fat until your love handles will eventually disappear. And to get that done, one of the best things you can do that works across the board is cut out all simple sugar. When I say simple sugars, I'm referring to the kind of sugar that you find in products like Coca-Cola, donuts, and cookies. These are the easiest types of calories to overconsume in very large quantities without even realizing what you're doing. For example, it's extremely easy to eat 1,000 calories of ice cream or drink hundreds of calories from sugary beverages, and all that sugar is very unlikely to fill you up and satisfy your stomach. Instead, it's likely to give you a huge sugar crash in a couple hours, and you'll feel even hungrier soon afterwards. We know from multiple studies that sugar has a minimal effect on satiety, meaning people usually consume sugary calories on top of the calories that they already consumed or will consume throughout the day. That's why cutting out simple sugars is one of the best things you can do to lose love handles faster. You'll find it much easier to maintain a calorie deficit, which helps you get leaner over time. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to avoid sugars in foods like fruits, because there are a couple differences between the sugar found in fruits and the sugars found in processed foods. For example, fruit contains a decent amount of fiber, which slows down the speed at which the sugar gets digested. And it's also effective at increasing fullness, because fruit contains significantly fewer calories per 100 grams compared to many foods, especially processed foods with added simple sugars. Plus, fruit also contains much more micronutrients that benefit your health and body composition overall. But in general, to get those love handles off faster, you want to focus on eating all sorts of single ingredient foods with a low calorie density, which obviously isn't just limited to fruit. The concept of burning fat is very easy. You have to consume fewer calories than you use. But in practice, it happens to be much harder than that, primarily because of hunger. Most diets fail because they leave people feeling too hungry, leading them to undo all the hard work they put in over days, weeks, or sometimes even months due to rebound binge eating. The best solution I found for this is to make single ingredient foods with a low calorie density the foundation of your diet. This was well documented by a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. The researchers told people that they could eat as much as they wanted for 5 days on 2 different diets. One was a high energy diet made up of calorie dense foods like sweet desserts and fatty meats. Meanwhile, the other consisted of low calorie foods such as veggies, fruits, grains, and dried beans. Researchers quickly identified that on the low energy diet, the participants felt satisfied after eating an average of 1,570 calories. But to reach the same feeling of fullness on the high energy density diet, they needed 3,000 calories, almost double the amount. Studies like this clearly show that not all calories are the same. So if you want to get rid of your love handles faster, I highly recommend that you primarily eat single ingredient foods with a low energy density. Examples include vegetables, lean meats, beans, and even include filling carbohydrates that grow from the ground like potatoes and rice. Another thing that you'll want to do is focus on building muscle with your workouts rather than burning calories and fat. This might sound counterintuitive, but focusing on building muscle will help you lose your love handles and keep them off. The problem is that many lifters don't prioritize muscle mass, and the situation is even worse if you're only doing cardio with no weight training at all. I've had many clients that wanted to lose fat, but they had very little muscle on their bodies. They didn't realize that this was one of the main reasons that they were struggling so much with losing fat, and it actually caused them to constantly hit plateaus even with a clean diet. It was only when they started to focus on gaining muscle for a while that they started to see results. And this is due to multiple reasons. One is that muscle is metabolically active. If you have more muscle mass, your body will naturally burn more calories daily, meaning it'll be easier to maintain a calorie deficit. Many experts now say that muscle metabolism isn't quite as high as we once thought, but they're missing the second huge benefit that carrying more muscle offers. Muscle mass happens to be an excellent place for your body to store glycogen, which are the sugars that you consume through your diet, whether that's apples, potatoes, or yes, even cookies. It all turns into glycogen in your body, and your muscles act as a sponge, absorbing excess glycogen before it can be stored as fat. If there is no more space in your muscles or liver to store glycogen, your body will convert some of it into body fat for later use. But if you have that space in your muscle tissue due to your last glycogen depleting weight training workout, well, then your body will store it there instead. Now, it's important to understand that you won't gain the same amount of muscle in a calorie deficit as you would be able to gain in a calorie surplus. But unless you're a highly trained individual, it is possible to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, which will not only make you look better, but will also help you keep the fat that you lost off for the long run. This is actually known as body recomposition, and we can see examples of it working in a study where overweight police officers with an average body fat of 26% started a weight training program, causing them to lose 9.3 pounds of fat while gaining 8.8 pounds of lean body mass, all at the same time within 12 weeks. Another underutilized, extremely effective activity that can help you reduce your love handles is walking more. Walking can be highly beneficial for burning extra calories without increasing hunger. Even someone that is already in great shape with a low body fat percentage can benefit from walking. It's even better for the average person that spends a huge part of their day seated. In fact, according to a recent analysis, the average American adult sits 6.5 hours per day. Walking burns more than double the calories that sitting does per hour, and that really adds up over time. What I mean is that if you simply walk 1 hour per day instead of sitting, you'll burn almost 1,000 additional calories per week. And that's just 1 hour. I routinely enjoy taking my dog on walks for longer distances like 3 to 5 miles because walking in nature can provide additional relaxation and mental health benefits. Also, like I said, walking won't make you as hungry as running or other forms of cardio, and it'll be a lot easier on your muscles and your joints, which will prevent it from interfering with your weight training workouts. Aside from walking, converting your current diet to a Matador-style dieting approach can further help with hunger and the other major issue that makes people plateau, metabolic adaptation. As you're losing body fat, your metabolism will inevitably slow down, which means you'll have to cut calories further to continue losing weight. Some people do just fine with continuous energy restriction, where they have the same amount of calories every single day, and they're able to stay in that daily deficit without being driven insane due to not being able to take a break. But I personally need constant breaks without messing up my overall deficit to enjoy my life and eat the food that I want to eat, which sometimes includes pizza, cheese fries, and even ice cream. So if you struggle to stay on track with a diet that always has the pressure on, you might want to consider implementing diet breaks. A diet break is a period where instead of being in a calorie deficit, you eat at calorie maintenance. Now, don't expect to lose as much weight and body fat during your diet break, because you probably won't. But that's not the point. Diet breaks can benefit your metabolism and make it easier to keep on staying in an overall calorie deficit over the long run. This was well shown by the Matador study, where 51 obese men were divided into two groups that either spent 16 weeks doing continuous dieting or intermittent energy restriction, where they alternated between dieting for 2 weeks on and then doing a diet break for 2 weeks after that. The results at the end of the 16 weeks of dieting showed that those who implemented the diet breaks lost more weight and body fat compared to those who dieted continuously. Plus, they also saw less of a reduction in their metabolism. This led the researchers to conclude that intermittent energy restriction was able to improve weight loss efficiency in comparison to continuous dieting. Just keep in mind, while this strategy may be more sustainable, it'll take you longer to achieve your result unless you create a much more aggressive reduction in calories during your 2-week calorie cutting intervals. Matador is great if you experience severe hunger cravings, you notice a drop in your metabolism, or you find it hard to stay on track with your diet in general. Last but not least, in regard to your workouts, one thing that you shouldn't do is bother with love handle specific exercises. The vast majority of research clearly shows you cannot get rid of belly fat by doing ab specific exercises, and the same holds true for love handles. One of the best examples of this is a study where scientists had subjects do 4 hours of ab training a week for 6 weeks, but despite their hard work, the ab exercises led to no belly fat loss or fat loss in general. Point is, if you want to get rid of your love handles, focus less on the amount of calories you're burning from exercise and focus more on removing excess carbs and fat calories from your diet. Again, exercise should primarily be used to build muscle, especially if you have issues with stubborn fat. So that about wraps it up. Those are truly the best things you can do to speed up the process of getting rid of those love handles. As much as I wish there was an exercise that could get rid of everyone's love handles, it just unfortunately doesn't exist. But if you want to start taking the correct steps towards losing those love handles, and you just want to know what you should eat and how much you should be eating based on your body stats and your preferences, then try my free 6-week shred. You'll get a personalized diet and a workout plan based on your preferences. The workouts can be done in a gym or at home and include a full video exercise library so you know exactly what you're doing. You only need to work out 3 days a week. Your diet will be very flexible and will come with a 42 recipe cookbook included. You'll also get a coach to answer any questions that might come up. So if you want a done-for-you solution that requires no thought on your end, then head on over to my website by clicking the link in the description or by heading directly to gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.